Hey, tea sippers. Hey, tea sippers. Hey, hey, hey. Update. What's going on with the... near the White House? What's going on? They shooting and stuff? What done happened?
Gifts for the outdoors and the...
There's a lot going on. Who's shooting at the... well, who done shot the guardsmen? Two of them. What is this about?
Hey, how you doing? There's no way we can get a moat with this much cover.
There's no way we can what? Can y'all hear me?
Five boat boxes. Oh, okay. I was just... he has probably about... Okay, thank you. Hey, left it.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Please come in hitting the like button. 2 National Guardsmen shot.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Let me see if I can get an update. Hold on.
We have some breaking news we want to get to out of Washington, D.C. A Secret Service spokesman tells MS Now that 2 National Guard members were involved in a shooting near the White House this afternoon. At least one of them was struck, and the White House is currently on lockdown. Joining us, MS Now Justice and Intelligence reporter Ken Delaney, and along with MS Now National Security and Intelligence analyst and former FBI supervisor Rob D'Amico. So, Ken, what exactly do we know?
basically just what you...
Intelligence reporter Ken Delaney, and along with MS Now National Security and Intelligence analyst and former FBI supervisor Rob D'Amico. So, Ken, what exactly do we know?
Basically just what you said, Katie. This shooting, I'm told, occurred near the White House, in a place called Farragut Square in downtown D.C. We're seeing video on social media of police rushing to the scene. I checked in with the Secret Service because they protect the White House and was told that 2 uniformed National Guard members were involved in a shooting. At least one of them was struck. Their condition is not known. The nature of the incident was not known by this person. It's being handled by the D.C. police, not the Secret Service, because they've decided there's no nexus to the White House, no threat to the White House. So the circumstances of this incident are unclear. Remember, of course, that uniformed National Guard are regularly patrolling the streets of Washington, having been deployed there by President Trump. That's subject to a legal fight. Actually, 5 days ago, a judge ordered the Trump administration to halt that deployment. That's still being litigated. But again, so all we know is that 2 uniformed National Guard members involved in a shooting. One was
yeah,
struck.
but
The condition of that person is unknown.
some more
at this time.
Epstein,
Yeah,
some
so the AP is
stunning
reporting that
Epstein
two
stuff
National
was
Guard
coming
members were
out.
struck, the two that were involved.
Last night
then
and
that-
today.
A little bit from our reporting, we'll see. if
Please
that
hit
gets
the like button, double
updated. Ken, you were saying that your sources have said there's no nexus. The FBI is saying no nexus. What does that mean?
The Secret Service, meaning there's no investigative, there's
Yeah,
no
this
angle
was
for them to
this is
investigate. They've
Epstein
already-
files.
There was no threat to the White House or the president. It's a shooting that occurred in D.C., and so it's being investigated and responded to by the D.C. police, not by the Secret Service. Remains to be seen. I've also checked in with the FBI. It's unclear at this point whether they will get involved, but right now the D.C. police is responding.
All right, so the president is not in Washington right now. He's not at the White House, even though the White House is on lockdown. He, is in Florida for the holiday break. J.D. Vance is, in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. In terms of how hard it is to investigate situations like this, Ken, who ends up taking the lead when you have a shooting? And Capitol Police might normally deal with this sort of thing, but you have a shooting so close to a place like the White House.
Well, the agencies work together so much anyhow. So if there was, as Ken said, if there's any nexus to someone had been trying to get in the White House, or if it was a federal building, they'll decide that. All the other crimes, DCs are originally going to, start investigating it. And then if it turns out a nexus to some type of federal thing where the FBI may have lead, or Secret Service, but they do that all the time because those properties are on top of each other. They literally sit there, and there's so many federal agencies. But when the crimes happen, and the fact that it's National Guard, they're going to have to start looking into what are the rules of engagement. Did the National Guard members
Epstein file. Release the Epstein file.
Interdict with it, and then that's what led to the shooting or something. So the DC police will do that. The National Guard will be involved, obviously, because it's their personnel. And then the other federal agents will sit there and wait to see if there's something that brings it into their chain of investigations. If it was on a property, or if somehow it turns out that it was someone doing something against something protected by the Secret Service. So they do that all the time because they just lay on top of each other as it is.
All right, the White House has just issued a statement. Caroline Leavitt says the president is aware, he's been briefed. They're actively monitoring this tragic situation. Again, we don't know the status of the National Guard members. The AP is reporting that 2 National Guard members were shot. Let's also bring in MSNL law enforcement analyst and former U.S. Capitol Police Chief Tom Manger. I'll get you on that question I just gave to Rob D'Amico, which is the complicated nature of policing in D.C., especially when you're close to the White House, but now especially when it involves a federal officer like a National Guard member.
Yeah, as you may know, the National Guard has been spending a lot of time at different metro stations, and Farragut, the Farragut area actually has a couple of metro stations there. So it would be very likely that you had National Guard folks at those subway stations, and so if something were to happen there, they would be right there on the scene. I know that I frequently take the metro in and around DC, and at almost every station downtown, when you come up out of the station, there are 2 or 3 or 4 National Guardsmen standing around that area. And when you get, the closer you get to the White House, the more agencies that you have, that whether it's the Federal Protection Service, Uniformed Secret Service, Metropolitan Police Department, you have the Metro Transit Police also have jurisdiction at all the metro stations. So you could have a half a dozen agencies in any given area, especially in the downtown area.
For those of us who don't live in D.C. and maybe are not familiar with the metro system there, why are National Guard members at all these stops?
That was just one of the places,
of Epstein files.
that, when the president deployed the additional resources to Washington, D.C., I know that the National Guard checked in with Chief Smith from the Metropolitan Police Department, said, where do you need us? Where can we be of assistance? And just having a higher profile of folks in and around the metro stations was something that they thought would add value. The metro system in Washington, D.C. is like any other metro system in the subway system in any big city in this country. You have a lot of stops that there are some crime issues. You have a lot of stops that there are no crime issues. And downtown DC is generally pretty safe, especially on weekdays during the rush hour when there's a lot of people there. Not too many issues, but the downtown area is always a place where there's a lot of people. So if you have somebody or when something does happen, you've got a fair number of members of the public that could be in and around a shooting like that. It makes it all the more dangerous.
Yeah, and I just want to stress, the AP is reporting that the 2 National Guard members were shot. Our reporting, according to Ken Delaney, is one of them were shot. In these early stages of any investigation, we're still relying on preliminary information, so I would just hold our breath before we are concrete on anything out there. That's a good note to keep in mind. Ken Delaney, and can I talk broadly about the atmosphere and the environment in Washington, D.C. over the past few months since the National Guard was deployed? What's it been like there?
Well, you know, people have sort of gotten used to seeing uniformed National Guard members on the streets. You know, initially it was very controversial, but then remember the mayor sort of decided to not to fight it and to go along with it, although the Attorney General of Washington sued to stop this deployment and got a favorable ruling 5 days ago from a federal judge ordering the Trump administration actually to withdraw the troops, but that hasn't happened. And it's sort of, people have just gone on with life. I mean, there's not much the National Guard can do. They can't arrest people. And so it's sort of become part of the firmament. But of course, you know, there's so much controversy happening in the United States right now with ICE, who are also wearing uniforms and wearing masks. And so you don't know.
KKK?
Walking around with uniforms in an American city, there are some Americans that might object to that. And so apparently this shooting has happened.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that graphic that just interrupted us. But again, we're following breaking news out of Washington, D.C. The D.C. police now says the area around the shooting has been secured. They do have 1 suspect in custody. So that is some relieving news from the D.C. police. Kristi Noem has just weighed into this on social media, sending her prayers to the 2 guardsmen who were shot. Again, AP says 2. Kristi Noem now says 2. And we're waiting to see the status on those guardsmen, how they're doing after this situation. Again, the president's not there. The vice president is not there. The president's in Florida. The vice president is in Kentucky. The White House, though, at least a moment ago, was under lockdown. Unclear if that has changed. There are so many different federal law enforcement agencies in Washington, D.C. It's a complicated place to enforce the law in. And then the addition of the National Guard patrolling, as Ken and everybody were talking about, complicates it further. Rob D'Amico, I know that the Secret Service had no nexus on this, as Ken was saying, so that means that they're going to be taking a back seat right now. But I would imagine that the FBI are going to be interviewing, or going to want to interview this suspect and find out if there's anything that they need to get involved with.
Well, right now, Metro-Dade, the D.C. police will have lead, so their investigators are talking to them. They're a task force, though. The FBI will be there, and as they talk to them, there's so many cameras around D.C., though, that they'll have a pretty good understanding of what happened, probably just by getting the CCT. And FBI works with Metro-Dade all the time, so if they start interviewing them, somehow it pushes over to the federal side. The National Guardsmen, if they've been federalized, though, are federal agents. So assault on a federal agent that could have nexus to the FBI. So they'll start talking about that, but they'll probably keep the Metro Police in the lead at this point. just depending on the circumstances of it. And it'll be interesting to see if I don't even know if some of the National Guard are armed and some aren't, or if they're all armed or all not. They'll definitely start looking into how the violence, were they shot back, did they just try to stop something, and all that'll go into it. But the FBI will be in close concert with Metro-Dade PD.
Yeah.
Metro-Dade, I'm talking Florida. It's DC, yeah, with the DC police.
Hold on. Let me see. Trying to get another update. Please come in hitting the like button for me. I greatly appreciate it.
We want to again continue to bring you the latest updates that we are getting into our newsroom right here on Live Now from Fox with the situation out in DC. President Trump has put out a statement on Truth Social regarding the shooting, saying the animal that shot the two National Guardsmen, with both being critically wounded and now in two separate hospitals, is also severely wounded, but regardless, will pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are truly great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, am with you. So that is the statement there from President Trump, putting that out just a moment ago on Truth Social, also saying the suspect was injured as well. That active investigation going on right now. Let's continue to bring you the very latest from Fox 5 DC. Their coverage continues right now.
Using it as a tool, but for example, why you need that, because if we can get a picture of the guy, a person with a hoodie, guy or woman, and they can track it down by looking at the cameras and tracking other people with hoodies, that is stuff that helps us as investigative tools. Much of it.
And I want to just interrupt you here for a second. Fox 5, learning from sources that 3 people were transported from that scene, 2 National Guard members and 1 other person, all 3 with gunshot wounds. And at this hour,
so now it's 3.
We're not sure what that third person's condition is, the extent of the injuries, but we are learning that the 2 National Guard members are suffering critical injuries, taken to the hospital right now. So 3 people in total transported from that scene here in the last hour, and you see that very heavy police presence. And when we talk about the National Guard being in the district, we know at one point their numbers were as high as 1,500, and just in the last week, a judge ruling that states allowing their National Guard's members to be here in DC was unlawful. They put that on pause just to not mess with operational security and their operations. But that was supposed to expire on December 11th. Just in a few short weeks, they were meant to
makes me think it's kind of staged.
Their homes. We don't know where the 2 who have been shot were from, if they're from DC, if they're from another state.
I don't believe nothing no more.
Their condition right now is...
I don't believe nothing. Nothing at all. Hold on, I think they was talking to a witness. I hate to say this, but I need to see the blood. I need to see, I need to see them coming to the rescue. Who was there when the shots went off? I need all of that with these people here in office.
We're Maurice's, and we're here to give you that styled feeling.
Sorry to say it.
Goldbelly is shipping America's
they play too much for me.
Nationwide.
A lot too much, should I say.
I want to bring in our Jay and Brian, who's there on the scene. You have some other witnesses, I am told. Jay, I know our photographer Chris Plater, Jay, was there on the scene.
And they can be crisis actors.
Pictures even of those national...
Y'all, please hit the like button.
Guard members on the ground getting worked on by EMS. Let me know if we can talk to him. Tell me who...
Why does it keep stopping?
You've been talking to. Who's with you, Jay?
So we've got a number of eyewitnesses here lined up for you. One of them is Chris. Kira, we're going to go to him in a moment. But first, I want to bring in Stacy Walters here, a Howard student who was in an Uber when you heard some of these shots. Howard alum.
Yeah.
You were in an Uber when you heard some of the shots. Is that right?
Yes.
Walk us through. So you're in the car. You hear the shots. What happened?
I was in the Uber. I heard boom, boom twice. I was looking at my cell phone, and the Uber driver said, "Why are all these people running?" So then I looked out the window, and it was little children. They looked probably about 5 years old on both sides of the street running.
They lying. You know,
and
you.
whoever was supervising the children
You
said,
with me?
Go, run. Then I heard someone yell, "Help, help!" in the direction of the.
Epstein files. Release the Epstein. All of them. Oh, I guess they got mad at me. Just started shutting stuff down. Crisis actor. Hold on. It started shutting it down. I ain't done nothing. It just, I said crisis actor. It disappeared. Ain't that about nothing? But I know they know it's coming right back up.
I want to bring in our Jay and Brian, who's there on the scene. You have some other witnesses, I am told. Jay, I know our photographer, Chris Plater, Jay, was there on the scene.
Some of these shots, Howard alum.
Boom, boom.
When you heard some of the shots, is that right? Walk us through. So you're in the car. You hear the shots. What happened?
I was in the Uber. I heard boom, boom twice. I was looking at my cell phone, and the Uber driver said, "Why are all these people running?" So then I looked out the window, and it was little children. They looked probably about 5 years old on both sides of the street running, and adults.
And release all the Epstein files.
Said,
Impeach,
go, run.
convict, remove.
Then I heard someone yell, "Help, help!" in the direction of.
I told you they don't want me to play it.
The shooting, but I didn't see who yelled to help. I don't know if it was the individual who was shot or someone yelling for help for the individual. We're on 17th Street Northwest, so I knew I wanted to research Slater. So I asked the Uber driver, "What's the cross street?" But he didn't know, and I was just going to go to the dry cleaners, and then the guards. I don't know if they're guards, Secret Service, but their uniform that definitely looked government level said you have to turn around. You have to turn around, and that was around.
It sounds like a skit.
See, compared to where we are now, right? Using this as our place, where were you approximately when you heard these shots?
That's the thing. I never paid attention.
She don't even know where she was.
Turning on to 17th Street.
Okay.
How she don't know where she was? Oh my God.
We're down the street, turning onto this street.
We were so close.
I can't, y'all. She don't even know where she
The
was.
shooting had just happened in the road. They had just, they were still letting people through. But by the time they got to us, they said, "You have to turn around."
When you saw those people running, what went through your mind?
The children. They were little children. And it's such a beautiful day. You know, that's the first thing I thought about. Who would do this? It's getting ready to be the holiday.
Trump.
And so many children. They just went on.
Release the Epstein file.
Both sides of the road. Little children running.
When you heard those pops, as you described, did you immediately think it was a shooting?
No, I'm originally from Connecticut. I only came to DC for Howard University. I'm from the suburbs. I've never been so close to anything like this. I didn't know there were gunshots. All I know, I heard boom, boom 2 times.
Who ain't never heard gunshots?
I really appreciate it. Kira, if you will indulge me here, I'm also going to bring in Chris Plater, who's been behind the camera for all of this coverage here.
Cali, New York.
Walking back to work at our ABC bureau, which is just a few blocks away, who heard that gunfire, and then he saw what appears to be those National Guards members wounded lying there on the ground. I want to bring Chris in here as he steps around the camera. And Chris, you've been with us for the entire day. It was you who called this in to our bureau. What did you see at first? What did you hear?
Okay, so it's what I heard first. And what I heard were, pop, pop, pop.
Now it's pop. She said boom.
Construction and things are going around.
Pop and boom is totally different.
Plates going on, something like that. But then boom, boom. And so I'm starting to hear these big guns. I'm like, okay, this is something's going on. So people at first were a little shocked. it was done like, is that construction? And so some people kind of jogged a little bit, and then when those big booms started happening, people started crying out like, yo, this is a little bit serious. This is shooting. There's something bad going on here. So immediately I went forward to see what was going on, and as you see in the video, I see 2 National Guard members down. And people are working on them,
providing first aid.
There was, some police officers that came a little later. It was kind of strange because it seemed like it took like 25 to 35 seconds for any police to respond. When you think about where we are, the White House, so close. And so that's when I was like, could it really be? But it really was. These National Guard members were down.
So, Chris, in relation to where we're standing now, we're across the street from the metro station. Can you describe where you saw the activity and what you saw where in relation to where we are here?
Okay, so where we are right now, I came up and crossed the street.
So you were you were a block away on the other side of the street.
I was right here at the metro stop. Yeah. I went over there to see what was going on, and that's where you see the video. I began videotaping, and they at some point got to clear us out and move us back here on this corner here. And so then I continued shooting and waiting, and that's when the police were responding and everything. So it was just all here, just a lot of people just running, the opposite way, through the park and past me, and there was some people that.
What y'all think?
Where one person says something like, man, the guy went up there and started shooting at the National Guard. I didn't get to talk to him, I didn't get to know who he was, but it sounded like he suggested that somebody went up and started shooting at the National Guard.
So, Chris,
hey,
just to walk back a second here, one of the things you saw was very graphic, and we have to describe it with care here, but you did see, and you videotaped, both of those National Guardsmen having first aid provided onto them lying on the street. Is that correct?
Yeah, one National Guard was lying on his side. They were rendering aid to him. He wasn't moving, but he was on his side. And then I looked at the other National Guard member that was down, and I saw compressions going on. There was a lot of people around there, so I don't think it was the person that done the shooting. And all I could tell you is that I identified 2 National Guard members that were being worked on. Eventually, the one National Guard that was on his side, he had to move a little bit while he was on his side, and they were still, working with him. But the other National Guard member, I just saw compression going on with him in the chest area, and that's all I can tell you.
Chris Plater, my dear friend who's been behind the camera with me over the course of the day, thank you, sir. And Kira, if you want to just stay with us for 1 second, because Chris is now going to go back to the other side of the camera and just show you one thing that we have not seen yet before, which is the full vantage point of this scene here. As Chris and I were talking, you probably saw the fire truck that was blocking the entrance to the metro station drove away, so you can get a sense of exactly the scene that Chris was describing. It's difficult to make out where he was, but he was on the right in front of that metro stop there. That's that open door that kind of looks like a garage door. You see it there. Chris was standing there watching them perform CPR onto one of the wounded guardsmen, and then he was moved to the other side of the street, had a vantage point of the scene there, again, chaotic. And now, as we've been saying over the course of the afternoon, Kira, it's now transitioning from the immediate aftermath of the shooting where they were rendering first aid, they were loading, as we witnessed, some of these guardsmen into ambulances and speeding off. And now this investigation is well underway with DC police closing this intersection. And we saw, as I was talking to Chris, FBI agents and ATF agents walking toward that crime scene now, Kira.
All right, Jay. It's incredible, the live pictures and the details that you are bringing us. Thank you so much.
Talking, you probably saw the fire truck that was blocking the entrance to the metro station drove away, so you can get a sense of exactly the scene that Chris was describing. It's difficult to make out where he was, but he was on the right in front of that metro stop there. That's that open door that kind of looks like a garage door. You see it there. Chris was standing there watching them perform CPR onto one of the wounded guardsmen, and then he was moved to the other side of the street,
had a vantage point of the scene there, again, chaotic. And now, as we've been saying over the course of the afternoon, Kira, it's now transitioning from the immediate aftermath of the shooting where they were rendering first aid, they were loading, as we witnessed, some of these guardsmen into ambulances and speeding off. And now this investigation is well underway. DC police closing this intersection. And we saw, as I was talking to Chris, FBI agents and ATF agents
So two
walking through that
pops.
crime scene now, Kira.
Then boom, boom, boom.
It's incredible, the live pictures and the details that you are bringing us. Thank you so much to Chris. It looks like there's some officers behind you that might be able to give you some information. We're going to stay close with you. But now, apparently, the President of the United States has put a statement out on Truth Social saying without a doubt, whoever did this is going to pay a very steep price.
I mean,
Welcome
I don't
to how to
know
create your own
why he.
cookbook 101. Where you're
What
about
was
to
the
embark on the exciting journey of
pop?
self-publishing.
What was the pop?
This is an ABC News special report.
Then boom, boom, boom.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. We're coming on the air with reports now of 2 National Guard members that have been shot in downtown Washington, D.C., not far from the White House. Both members were in uniform, police and ATF on the scene. A police official telling us that a suspect is down. President Trump deploying the National Guard in August, as you may remember, was part of his effort to crack down on violent crime, as we're seeing play out right now on the streets of D.C. Let's get right to our Jay O'Brien. He's there at the scene. Jay, set the scene for us. Tell us what you know. And we actually see the scene behind you where police are actively working.
Yeah, Kira, a chaotic and tragic scene here. As you can see, more law enforcement arriving. The scene seems to be congregated around the Farragut West Metro Station. There at the end of the block, just beyond that fire truck. We have seen National Guard in recent months stage at these metro stations as part of a larger public safety operation. And as you can see, we see a number of National Guardsmen who have also arrived here.
Yeah,
in fact,
please hit the like button.
A few blocks away, as we were running here.
Double tap the face of your screen if you're using your phone. Get the likes up.
National Guard who were sprinting here on their cell phones trying to get a sense of what was going on. We saw one apparent victim, someone in National Guard fatigues, being worked on by EMS and other law enforcement.
Yeah, but I think this may be a ploy to keep to say that there's a need for them. No, that's the police problem.
Which sped off here with a police escort. Obviously, not much information coming out of this.
You ain't been having that many problems.
Locked down, but chaotic here.
But I still think it's about the Epstein file. Release the Epstein file.
Here, now this scene has transitioned to be one of an investigation.
Impeach,
federal agents
convict,
arrive. We've seen tactical units with the Secret Service here, as well as DC Fire, and of course, those fellow National Guardsmen who are here now watching and looking on as this tragic scene unfolds, Kira.
Okay, and I'm continuing to get in new details now, Jay. First of all, this is just heartbreaking. It's Thanksgiving week. This is exactly why the President of the United States put National Guards, men and women, on the streets.
That is not exactly why. Stop lying.
Of violent crime he wanted to see an end to, and now we are reporting that a suspect is down after shooting 2 members of the National Guard. They were here not far from our bureau, our ABC News Bureau here in D.C. We're located at DeSales in Connecticut. This is 17th Street and I, if you know it, not far from the White House, only a couple of blocks. You can see all the agencies on the scene, from the ATF to DC Fire, rescue crews carrying out CPR, and obviously members of the National Guard and police. A statement coming from the White House now. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt saying the White House is aware and actively monitoring this tragic situation. The president has been briefed. Secretary Kristi Noem, DHS Secretary, saying, please join me in praying for the 2 National Guardsmen who were just shot moments ago in Washington, D.C. Let's get straight to our Chief Justice Correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, can you tell us anything about the conditions of those 2 members of the National Guard that have been shot?
Again, we're still awaiting information. Law enforcement officials wanted to first secure the scene, get the victims to medical treatment as soon as possible. Initially, D.C. police were giving guidance that at least one National Guardsman was shot. We've now heard from a second D.C. police official who said
membership.
two were injured.
Hey, 11 months. That's what's up.
That official also.
Thank you, Kane Life, for all your support.
With another D.C. police official.
Y'all happy early Thanksgiving.
I don't know if that suspect was injured or how badly. Again, D.C. police are getting assistance from Secret Service, other federal agencies to secure the scene. And obviously, what I was told is that at 2:20 p.m., there was an active shooter incident at the entrance of that metro stop. Apparently, the National Guard was there. It's unclear if it was a robbery. It's unclear if they were targeted. Again, a lot of information officials are trying to glean to get specifics, but obviously the main priority was getting assistance to the victims who were injured. Crime in D.C. had been going down in recent months, but suffice it to say, gun violence in this country is chronic. And so even when there is improvement, there are always people, unfortunately, who have weapons and are willing to use them. This is a situation, obviously, because of the location near the White House. We're being told that the White House, for at least a period, was put on lockdown as they try to assess the situation. Again, bevy of law enforcement officials there. I've seen those National Guardsmen often on my walk to the metro. They were there, to support D.C. police. Again, they're not law enforcement officials, but they were definitely put in a position today where it was a very tragic circumstance.
Thank you.
Are you researching dental implants?
There's a lot of dental offices that'll talk about doing their teeth in the day prop.
Indeed, tragic circumstance just a day before Thanksgiving. And Pierre, just to reiterate, the president has been briefed. We have heard from White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt that not only has the president been briefed, but also that the White House is on lockdown. Also, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem saying, please join me in praying for the two National Guardsmen who were just shot moments ago in Washington, D.C. And if you're just joining us right now, as you know, President Trump has been deploying National Guard troops in cities that he has said have needed the extra support because of crime. Violent crime like what we have just seen.
You needed the extra support because of the Epstein file.
We are trying to confirm at this point whether that suspect is down or in custody. As you heard from our Pierre Thomas, we've been getting reports that either one of those scenarios could be the situation right now, but we can confirm that two members of the National Guard have been shot. National Guard members that were not far from the Farragut West Metro Station. They had been at Union Station, our main train station here in D.C., tourist areas like the mall, where a lot of people have been coming in for Thanksgiving vacation, as you know, and also the metro station. It just so happened that my nephew was here en route to the Bureau visiting for Thanksgiving. He texted me saying, I'm not far from you. We see people running. We see officers in the ready position, guns down, trying to move people away from the scene, and then the yellow tape started to go up. And now we know it's a breaking news situation. Two members of the National Guard shot. Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katursky also working his sources. Anything that you can tell us, Aaron, about the condition of those two members of the National Guard and also the suspect? Is he down? Is he in custody? Do we know?
At least one suspect is in custody, according to D.C. Metro Police, Kira, and the condition of the National Guardsmen who were shot was not immediately clear, although they were seen getting medical attention and immediately rushed to ambulances and presumably to the hospital. So the injuries do appear to be serious, even though we don't know the specific condition. With a suspect in custody and the scene seemingly secure, a focus will turn to whether these guardsmen were specifically targeted. If that's the case, it would fit with what we've been hearing from law enforcement officials for a number of months now, that some political flashpoints in the country, whether that's immigration policies by the administration, the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, even amid a tenuous ceasefire, those kinds of flashpoints have made people in uniform, be they military, law enforcement, government officials, people in uniform, have increasingly been targets, and that is going to be one focus of the investigation going forward, Kira.
Okay. Aaron, stay with us as news develops. If you're just tuning in, once again, 2 members of the National Guard shot. We cannot confirm their condition, but our photographer there, Chris Plater, has been on the scene. He did see EMS working on at least 2 individuals that were down. As you heard from our Aaron Katersky, at least 1 suspect is in custody. There's a number of agencies on the scene. You have ATF, you have DC Fire, you have EMS, you have DC Police. And you see, as Chris is showing us the scene, this is about 2 blocks from the White House, 2 blocks from us in our ABC News Bureau here in D.C. This shooting happening around 2 o'clock Eastern.
Hey, y'all, please. There's 400 and something people in here. I need for y'all to double tap the face of your screen if you're using your cell phone to listen in. And if you're
we will
on your computer,
to all the details.
If you're on your computer, please hit the 3 dots at the top right. Hit the thumbs up so that I won't have to keep pausing while we get updates. Just double tap. It's real easy. Don't cost nothing. No obligation, no monthly service fees.
Our fingers crossed, just one day before Thanksgiving, that these members of the National Guard survive the shooting that has taken place this afternoon.
They play too much. Let me see.
On ABC News Live and ABC.
Because they play too much and they're not always honest in a lot of staging. And there's a lot going on, as you heard, with Hamas and Israel and, Putin and Russia and Ukraine, still got the Epstein files. Now you have Candace Owens dang near about to solve Charlie Kirk, and then she gets her life threatened, and you're included into that because you called her to stop with her pursuit of the Macrons, whatever that little man Shem is. It's just so much. Him lying, him eating Bill Clinton's pickle, The little kids, the little Katie Johnson, O'Barron. It's just a lot. Then he accidentally impeaching himself. He slipped up and said, I guess impeach me. I'm okay with impeaching the president. Maybe he forgot. I don't know. What is wrong with the man? It's a lot going on, y'all.
Where a lot of people have been coming in for Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mrs. Tom.
Vacation, as you know,
KP,
and also the Metro
keep
station.
It moving. Hello.
It just so happened that my nephew was here en route to the Bureau visiting for Thanksgiving. He texted me saying, I'm not far from you. We see people running. We see officers in the ready position, guns down, trying to move people away from the scene. And then the yellow tape started to go up. And now we know it's a breaking news situation. 2 members of the National Guard shot. Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky also working his sources. Anything that you can tell us, Aaron, about the condition of those 2 members of the National Guard and also the suspect? Is he down? Is he in custody? Do we know?
At least 1 suspect is in custody.
How many were there?
Metro Police, Kira, and the condition of the National Guardsmen who were shot was not immediately clear, although they were seen getting medical attention and immediately rushed to ambulances and presumably to the hospital. So the injuries do appear to be serious, even though we don't know the specific condition. With a suspect in custody and the scene seemingly secure, a focus will turn to whether these guardsmen were specifically targeted. If that's the case, it would fit with what we've been hearing from law enforcement officials for a number of months now, that some political flashpoints in the country, whether that's immigration policies by the administration, the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, even amid a tenuous ceasefire, those kinds of flashpoints have made people in uniform, be they military, law enforcement,
so much scandal in the White House,
people in uniform, have increasingly been targets, and that is going to be one focus.
And, you know, he knew something was coming because, 2 months ago, it was reported that he was putting up bunkers. He was putting up, what is it called? I can't think of what they said, to try to protect the White House. Because I remember saying, who he done pissed off? What's coming? You know, you never know. A lot of stuff is staged, and he's doing a lot of deflecting. He wants people to stop talking about the Epstein files. There was a ruling today. So because they play games and they don't want to take responsibility, and there's been a lot of smoke and mirrors, a lot of deceit. It's just hard to know. It's just really hard to know if it is legit or if it was staged. Because one thing is for sure, he will stage to deflect. Him being on them Epstein files. And some more evidence was coming out about him in foreign countries and their connection. But I'm still going to need y'all to get the likes up. Come on. We can do it. We can do it together. Double tap.
Going forward, Kira.
Okay. Aaron, stay with us as news develops. If you're just tuning in, once again, 2 members of the National Guard
recently
shot.
He said
We
there's
cannot
0 crimes in D.C. because of what he did.
But our photographer there, Chris Plater, has been on the scene. He did see EMS working on
Memphis is
2
gonna be
individuals that were down. As you heard from our Aaron Kontursky, at least 1 suspect is in custody. There's a number of agencies on the scene. You have ATF, you have D.C. Fire, you have EMS, you have DC Police, and you see, as Chris is showing us the scene, this is about 2 blocks from the White House, 2 blocks from us in our ABC News Bureau here in DC. This shooting happening around 2 o'clock Eastern Time. We will continue to bring in all the details, keeping our fingers crossed just one day before Thanksgiving that these members of the National Guard can survive the shooting that has taken place this afternoon. Our coverage will continue on ABC.
Okay, let me see where else I'm going to go. Now, if y'all can't get the likes up, I'm going to assume that you don't appreciate my efforts. And who was that on fire, Lord? It would rather me.
And right now, the White House is releasing a statement. Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, saying that the White House is aware and actively monitoring this tragic situation, and the president has been briefed. Again,
we've been listening to Fox 5 DC coverage. We will continue to be giving you the latest updates. We'll check back in with them in just a moment, but we want to give you some additional updates that we are learning from our newsroom right now.
Oh, wow. One of them has passed.
By the DC Police Department. This is a big update that the scene is secured. 1 suspect right now in custody. So that is good news.
Oh, wow.
I started that site in 2008 when I quit my job as a lawyer to travel the world. I looked at a whole bunch of...
So, Lindsay, we're getting an update now from Governor Patrick Morrisey in West Virginia, and I just want to read you what he just tweeted a couple moments ago. So at 3:42, he sent this out on social media, and it says, "It is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C. have passed away from their injuries. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in the service of their country. We are in ongoing contact with federal officials as the investigation continues." It goes on to say, Lindsay,
oh, wow.
Washington, D.C. have passed away from their injuries. Media, and it says, "It is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C. have passed away from their injuries. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in the service of their country. We are in ongoing contact with federal officials as the investigation continues." It goes on to say, Lindsay, "Our entire state grieves with their families, their loved ones, and their Guard community. West Virginia will never forget their service or their sacrifice, and we will demand full accountability for this horrific act." Again, a couple of big pieces of information coming from this social media post. Now, West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey identifying those two National Guard troops as West Virginians, and also saying that they've both passed away from their injuries.
Okay, this is certainly a very tragic update to this story. I believe we are working on getting that post on X up so that everybody can see it. But just to reiterate what Chanel has been talking about, and here it is on your screen. Chanel just mentioned it, but I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit more. "With great sorrow, we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today in Washington, D.C. have passed away from their injuries." Certainly not the update anybody wanted to hear. This is incredibly tragic, as we have been reporting. Our Anna Schechter saying that they were shot in an ambush style near the Farragut Metro stop here in Washington, D.C. This is very close to the White House. And Anna, if you are still with us, very tragic update here. And as far as we know, the suspect is in custody in the hospital and is injured. We don't have an update on the suspect's condition. Am I right, Anna?
That's right. I just got a second source that the suspect was shot 4 times. So we know that, and is in serious condition, critical condition as well. So this was, obviously you can imagine this kind of a shootout, the chaos and multiple shots fired, suspect hit 4 times. He fired off enough rounds to kill 2 National Guardsmen who were in D.C. from West Virginia. We just got that confirmation from the governor. So that's the latest. Obviously, the families have been told, and that's why the governor went ahead and put that out. I was hearing the same, but they were holding off until the families were notified.
All right, and we did hear the vice president, who is at a Thanksgiving event. He spoke about the shooting, saying, and I'm quoting him because we don't have this on tape yet, the vice president saying, "I want to say first, before we get started on a somber note, we had," and some of you may have seen this on your phones or on social media, but apparently there was a shooting outside the White House a couple of hours ago. We're still learning everything. We don't know the motive. There's a lot that we haven't yet figured out, but we do know is that a couple of National Guardsmen were injured in the line of duty, and now we know from the West Virginia governor that they were killed in the line of duty. He said, Vance continued by saying, "I want everybody who's a person of faith to say a prayer for those 2 National Guardsmen. It's a somber reminder that soldiers, whether they're active duty, reserve, or National Guard, are soldiers, are the sword and shield of the United States of America." And a person who goes into work every single day in that building and knows that there are a lot of people who wear the uniform of the Army. Let me just personally thank them for what they're doing. We're grateful for them, and we're praying. Certainly just incredibly tragic news, because the vice president was speaking about that. And as far as the vice president knew at that time, the guardsmen were injured and still fighting for their lives. But now we know. And if we can pull that X post up again from the West Virginia governor, Governor Morrisey, saying, "It is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today have passed away from their injuries. Here is that post. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in the service of their country. We are in ongoing contact with federal officials as the investigation continues. I want to go back to Sam Vinograd because, Sam, we know that multiple law enforcement agencies are on the scene. We know FBI, ATF, Secret Service are on the scene. Does anything change now that we know that these victims have passed away? Does anything change with this investigation?
Well, potential sentencing for the suspect could change, but at this time, this tragedy is really overwhelming, Lindsay.
They were not there to service the country.
I'm a bit emotional, but in terms of the actual investigation,
you're right about that, Largo.
The investigation will proceed at pace to ascertain what weapons were used, where they came from, who the suspect or suspects are, using biographic information, biometric information, fingerprints, and otherwise scrubbing the suspect's social media, as well as relying on members of the public for tips or information, and then reviewing video footage and other digital content from the scene, surrounding cameras, perhaps drones that were flying overhead, and more. However, any charges against the suspect and any sentencing guidelines will certainly change now that 2 individuals who were murdered in the line of duty in their federal service are tragically dead.
Bold statement. Let me see what this is.
I want to go live now to retired FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge, Jeff Harp. And he certainly has some insight. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us last minute as well. I know that you have some insight into some things like this. What stands out to you about this particular scene?
Well, hi, Juliet. Yeah, some of the things that really stand out to me is the fact I worked, 2 blocks away from there. And that is, like your previous guest said, that is a very popular metro stop. So it's not uncommon to see lots of people, loitering around, looking at things. But you have, FBI, Secret Service, DHS, there's casts of thousands of law enforcement people that work right in the area. So this was a pretty bold statement by this shooter to do this.
Maggie, we just heard
a couple
that.
Things as we were waiting here that
Maggie, you may want to rewind. They did just announce that. I just played it. Rewind about 5 minutes.
I was checking on with a source of mine on the ground there at the metro stop, trying to confirm the number of rounds that were fired and who possibly fired what rounds. Likely these were all fired from a semi-automatic weapon, and 15 rounds may sound like a lot, but in my mind, with 3 people involved, that's not a lot of gunfire. It's hard to say how close.
Yeah, how many? Because
shots were fired from.
Because we heard.
Likely these were all fired from a semi-automatic weapon, and 15 rounds may sound like a lot,
what they
but
said
in my
they
mind,
heard.
with 3 people involved, that's not a lot of gunfire.
Boom, boom,
it's
boom.
hard to say how close proximity these shots were fired from, but most of these guardsmen are carrying a sidearm and a rifle. So I think as we see the investigation unfold, we'll learn a lot more about the significance of that.
How about the fact that it was a couple of blocks away from the White House and also
really should
near
not
a
have been
metro
there.
stop?
The
What
crime
stands out to you there?
The crime did not require them to be there.
Thanksgiving, there's a lot of people on holiday. People are
That's
visiting
just the bottom
Washington,
line.
The thing that one of your other guests said that's really
Ms. Tom said that he just reported that there was no crime
not undercover in any type
in
of
D.C.
capacity.
So why were they still
stand out
there?
Very visibly in the D.C. area. So if you wanted to target somebody, obviously.
Yeah, why were they still there?
How about the fact that it was a couple of blocks away from the White House and also near a metro stop? What stands out to you there?
Well, and so there's a lot of people around, especially around Thanksgiving. There's a lot of people on holiday. People are visiting Washington, D.C. The thing that one of your other guests said that's really, prominent in my mind is the fact that these guardsmen are not undercover.
Okay, y'all get the lights up. I'm going to have to go.
Very visibly in the D.C. area. So if you wanted to target somebody, obviously you can drive into D.C. It's not locked down. You can park your car pretty much anywhere on a meter. And, depending on what type of weapon you have, it's, you can walk around. People carry backpacks and other things all over D.C. So this absolutely 100% is a targeted attack. Some of the questions I have is about the
You don't know
pre-operational planning
100%.
that took place, whether this person intended to make this happen near the White House as a political statement. We obviously have guard troops
Yeah, this is
in
beginning
other
to sound
places across the
staged.
U.S., and I know there's alerts that have gone out. I've seen those. So yeah, this is going to unfold in the next couple days, and we're going to learn more. The other previous guests also mentioned having the person's, their data, their electronic data. That's going to be scrubbed just to make sure
is that me?
If there were others involved, that
Is
they're
this
able to
me?
track that
Yes,
down.
that's
Certainly,
me.
the
About
footprint of the
about
suspect
right
and
before I
the
went
suspect's
live.
MO. At what point do we know that in fact he acted alone, or could there be others involved?
They pushing the fear out there. Yeah,
that's always a guess. And like the previous guest said about lone wolf attacks, these things are really, really difficult. I know there's a lot of professional people out there who look at events leading up to an attack and how they make that determination whether this person's going to be operationalized or not. And I think we will learn the same thing about this attack. What did they do that preceded the attack? What made them become operational? Was it something they did themselves?
Well,
encouraged
okay,
by
so
others?
Marie, that's going to be the telltale sign. If they're going to cancel the Thanksgiving parade. If they do not cancel it, then it was staged for Epstein purpose. If they do, then we can take it serious. How about that, y'all? If everything is as scheduled, it's a no for me. I'm gonna tell you now. Because if there is an immediate threat, come on. If it's targeted for political reasons, do we really want to jeopardize the citizens' safety? No, we don't. Cancel it. But if it is everything returned to as it was, I'm not buying it. Too much. This is what happens when you lie all the time. You're trying to get something that's going to stick. So I don't believe it. Condolences to the family if it's real, but I don't believe it. I mean, everybody was sick to their stomach and crying mad about Charlie Kirk, and now we're finding out that it was an organized hit. There's people that was on top of the roof in all black that they've said nothing else about. The person that they have in custody is not the person who was the shooter. So what are we doing? Was it staged? Is Charlie Kirk in protective custody? We didn't see no blood. I don't know what FFs are. I don't know. Spell out what you're trying to say. I don't speak your language. I don't know what that is. FF can be Fendi to me. So how am I supposed to know what FFN is? Yeah. I had on some glasses yesterday that had F's. F on both sides. I ain't trying to be funny, but did you not see my little eye swag yesterday? They had F's on it. What is the F? What is the F's? It could be AunTeaFee. Just in case you think I'm playing, they go to F. What are the F's for? Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I'm sorry that something has happened, and he been leaving. He just been leaving the White House, and I'm just not buying it. I'm just not. Yeah, but we definitely want to know what the F's means. Yeah, before we go now a step further, what is the F's? You see, Miss Tom, we looking at you with our good eye.
As a lone wolf, it's really hard to say. And then again, the thing that we always struggle with are the mental health conditions of folks that do these horrific acts.
What do we
What
know
about the mental health of the president?
Tomorrow, we have a parade coming up in New York. There are people gathering. What does this mean for law enforcement, for all of the agencies moving forward, for their own safety and for the public safety?
Yeah, anytime we have a holiday coming up, and we have these, when I was in the Bureau, every year there was some sort of holiday threat that we were concerned about. That exists still today. Every holiday, anytime you have mass gatherings of people, it allows itself for an opportunity for someone to do one of these acts. And
oh no, Maggie, we not playing. We want you to tell us what that is. Oh, y'all let her know we not playing. If she gonna stay in here with us, we need to know what that FF is. Oh, okay, so you don't like being here. I mean, when has flag meant FF, and you said for the 4th time? Yeah. Y'all say bye. Y'all say bye. Bye to Maggie dumbass. She think we a joke. Y'all say bye. She think we a joke. No, we not. Joke's on you, boo-boo. Yeah. Fat face. Funky face. Yeah. How about that?
Into a crowd and just targeting whoever they want to. So that's the tough part of this job that these folks are going to have, preventing the next attack whenever these lone wolves oftentimes are radicalized online to the privacy of their own home, protected by a First Amendment activity, and yet law enforcement doesn't ever see it coming, which obviously they didn't see today.
Jeff Harp, appreciate your insight. Thank you so much. We'll circle back with you. Thank you for joining us. Let's get back to our breaking news correspondent Chanel Call following the latest developments right now from the newsroom. Chanel.
Still getting wine hangovers in 2025?
She came in saying,
that's the
we was wrong and that it didn't say that anybody had died. We had to correct her.
Things are changing by the minute. But just to recap here for viewers who are just tuning in, look, this happened sometime before 2:42 p.m. That is when we got the first alert about this shooting. Let me tell you a bit about where this happened, because that is significant to note. So I'll share my computer screen with you here. You can see it happen at the corner of I Street Northwest and 17th Street Northwest. And if I zoom out, you can actually see that it is simply 2 blocks north of the White House. So obviously some big security concerns here. Now here's what DC Fire had initially said happened. They said, Jules, that they had reported 3 gunshot victims. 2 of them they'd said were National Guard troops. Then later on this afternoon, we saw this post from Governor Patrick Morrisey, and on social media, he had said that those 2 National Guard troops had died, and he'd also said that they were from West Virginia. Now, a couple moments ago, he sent out a new and updated statement. Take a look at this. He now said, we are now receiving conflicting reports about the condition of our 2 Guard members and will provide additional updates once we receive more complete information. Our prayers are with these brave service members, their families, and their entire Guard community. So at this point, it is a bit unclear about...
Yeah, but that was earlier. Let me see what time that was so that because I think they've since then have updated. Okay, y'all, since y'all not hitting the like button, it's 365 people in here. Y'all popping in and not showing any courtesy, any love for the channel host. So I'm gonna go ahead and end. I'll be back later, y'all. I'll be back later.